Hi, everybody. I'm Tracy Daly, and I'm a faculty partner with Cengage. And I've been asked to create a video for you using Diet and Wellness Plus and the reports. I'll be showing you a couple of things that I do, some things that I found to be challenging, and some workarounds. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you. And I'm going to begin in MindTap. So if we go into Diet and Wellness Plus, this is a course that I have had. This is my sports nutrition class. And every book that uses Diet and Wellness Plus basically is set up fairly the same way. You have your icon tray over on the right-hand side, and depending on your screen, you might need to scroll down. I have a little bit of a smaller font on my screen, so all of my icons are here. Over on the right-hand side, if you click on the apple with the plus, this is Diet and Wellness Plus, and we can go into the application. There's always a disclaimer that comes up, as you probably have seen, and I have already set up my profile, so this is the page that I come to automatically. Now, for reports, when your students are submitting reports, there's a number of items that they can submit, and I have quite a few that I like to use, and there's ways of doing it independently, or you can do them all into one collaborative PDF. So I'll show you both ways of doing that. So if you're familiar with Diet and Wellness Plus, there is the track change. We can track our diet as well as our activity. And then the icon in the middle top that says reports, we want to click on that area. And that takes us into all of the different reports that are available to your students. Now, you as an instructor are not able to go into their reports through MindTap. The best way for this to happen is for the student to do all of the work. They've added in their nutrition analysis, they have added in their activity, then they can go to reports, they can save them as a PDF, which is really convenient since most of us are online these days, and they can submit that through your LMS, and I'll show you how to do that as well. So at the very top, and I'm just going to scroll down here just a little bit, you see that there's diet and activity reports, and there's a number of individual reports that the student can click on depending on what you want. And I encourage you as an instructor to do this yourself. Have a example for your students, or at least play around with it so that you understand the nuances of what Diet and Wellness Plus offers, as well as what the reports will offer. So I have gone in, I've added foods randomly throughout the few years that I've been working with MindTap, and I can then go in and generate reports and use those as examples for situations just like this. So again, individual reports are specific to that area. So if you only want them to submit energy balance or their My Plate analysis, this is a great place for them to do that. So for example, if I click on My Plate analysis, I come to a landing page. And this is one of the most important aspects. You want to make sure that your students are changing the dates, because they're probably not only including one day of diet analysis, they're probably including a few days. So if you click on the start date area, the calendar little icon to the right side of the date, you see that there's a green box, and I know that that means I have added in activities, and you can see by the key down at the bottom here that there's a green box for foods, an orange box for activities, or a gray box for both. Now, I know that I started adding foods in January of 2019 to really make this robust, or at least fairly robust, so I could have good examples. And that's where I'm going to go. So I clicked on the arrow down button next to August 2020, and that's going to give me the year. So I'm going to click on 2019, and then I'm also going to click on January. And here's where I really started the bulk of my additions. So I'm going to start this on January 1st. Now, of course, your students will not be doing this. They'll probably just need to look at the current calendar, or maybe a month or two beforehand, depending on when your assignment is due. I know for me, my assignments are due at the end of the semester. So in November, they'll be submitting some reports to me, and they'll have to scroll back to September. So it's just a matter of getting them aware of what to do. And I will generally create a little video just like this for my students, walking them through exactly what they need to do, because sometimes in a typed out format, it's a little less intuitive for them. So I've included my date here from January 1st, 2019 to the current date, August 17th, 2020. I'm including all of my meals and snacks. And again, it's dependent on what you are including in your assignment for your students. And the information is automatically populated. So if I scroll down, you can see that the goal here, based on my anthropometric data that I've added already into the system, I am meeting based on my actual 0% of my goal. So I wanted to see what would happen here if I was eating less than what was recommended. And this is the information that your students will get. And so it's giving you a little bit more data here on how much I actually do need, which is very helpful. But if I want a little bit more information other than just this report, and I'm going to go back here and click on the reports button to go back to that main landing page. If I want to do a few of these, there's a nice way to do that instead of having them do each individual report. So if I scroll down here all the way to the bottom, you see that there's behavioral reports that you can have them work on if you're working on behavior change, which I do with some of my classes, and really it's a great aspect if you want them to understand behavior change, which is very valid with regard to nutrition in and of itself. But specifically for the nutritional reports, I want them to do a combination report. And this puts every report that I'm interested in a nice, neat little package, and it's not an individual PDF. So if I click on combination report, I'm brought to that same landing page. My date hasn't changed because I set that originally. I have all my meals and snacks checked. And then all those reports that I had showed you earlier individually are now in this combination report. So the things that I'm not interested, I can just simply uncheck. So I'm not interested in some of these things. We don't talk about exchanges because this specifically is a sports nutrition class. If I had a course that was maybe a higher level nutrition course that focused on diabetes education, I might include exchanges, but for this class, I don't. I will include activities, energy balance. I don't necessarily want the daily food log because in my courses, I have them do a food diary that's separate. I'm a little bit old school, and I will have them write out or type in a food diary and submit that prior to doing the analysis so that I can make sure that their food diary is robust. As we all know, a lot of times our nutrition analysis isn't clear because we're not writing all the foods down that we need. So if I have a student writing down that they consume cereal in their food diary, I need to know what kind of cereal it was. Did they have milk? Did they have soy milk or rice milk or hemp milk? What was it that they included to be more specific for this portion? So I don't include that, but you can. It just makes your diet analysis a little bit longer. Again, it's a PDF, so it's really not that much of an issue to be submitted in that way. So in my classes, I have the DRI report, the intake versus goals, the macronutrient ranges. The fat breakdown is already included in some of the data that we're going to be seeing in other spreadsheets. So I always uncheck that button. And I froze up there a little bit, sorry about that. I have the My Plate analysis, I have the activities, and the energy balance. And those are the typical reports that I have. And again, all you have to do is scroll down to see that information. So the demographic data comes up here for you. And then you have the caloric DRI. And then we look at the macronutrients and the micronutrients, looking at the AMDR. Again, scrolling down, we have the detail that is giving us what we need. But what I want to know is what I had versus what I need. So that's where this intake versus goals spreadsheet comes in. So here's the DRI, and then I have the percent of the DRI that I was consuming. And in my assignments for my students, I have them address any macro or micronutrient that is consumed below 80%. And I have the students identify at least 2 food sources that can be completed or at least consumed for that student that would incorporate those vitamins. And I ask for variety. I don't want my students to tell other students, well, you need to have liver every day because it contains so many vitamins and nutrients. that's probably unrealistic. So I have them really look at some of the more common, but yet uncommon fruits or vegetables or other foods that they might be able to consume to get these nutrients. If I scroll down again, and it looks like I'm just a tad frozen here, but there we go with the internet. It's a little hot in San Diego, and so we've had a little bit of issues with our electricity, my internet, so I apologize for that. We have our macronutrient ranges, so it does give me the recommended versus my actual intake. And my plate analysis, which we all teach my plate. So we're looking at what the goal is versus the actual, and I had showed you this earlier. And then we look at the energy balance. So again, some of these things are nice to know for your class, and some of them are need to know. And really, again, I encourage you to even check all of these boxes so that you can scroll down and see exactly what each of them entail instead of having to go through individually. And you'll be able to see exactly what it is that your students will be submitting. Now, you can tell by this little button over here as I scroll down that the data got very long. So please do note that if all boxes are checked, it ends up being about 45 pages. So you don't necessarily want to scroll through that for 40, 50, or even more students. So play around with it. One thing that I do want to show you, and this is a little bit of a conundrum when it comes to students having to print out or submit the data. Now, typically, if we want them to print it out, we click on print, or if we want them to save it as a PDF, we would do that. Now, I use Mac, and so if you use Safari and you click on Save as PDF, the students will be faced with this disclaimer. It's telling them that they're not able to do so, but there is a workaround to that. It's just a little bit more convoluted. So if you have them click the print button, they're not printing this off, but now we're in the print section of Safari. I click on this drop-down box here for PDF, and then I can save it as a PDF. My students can then save it to their desktop or wherever they choose to save this. So I'm going to save this to my desktop, and I'm just going to name this Cengage Diet and Wellness Plus, so I can find it very easily. And now that's saved to my desktop. So if I go over to my assignments in Canvas, and I'm using Canvas just as an example, you can do this with any LMS. I've done this with Blackboard. I've also done this with Moodle. But in your assignments, you can just create an assignment within your LMS and have them upload this document as a PDF. And so let's say this was the Healthifier recipe assignment. I would click on that assignment. The students would go in and submit that assignment as a document. PDF is what this document will be saved as, and it's easier to read and download on your systems as well for the most part. So if you have any questions, please get in touch with your Cengage folks. They are more than happy to help. I'm happy to help as well. My name is Tracy Daly, and I'm a faculty partner. I teach nutrition and health classes in the San Diego area, and I wish you all the best of luck on your upcoming semester. The birds outside are wishing you the same. Best of luck. In good health, stay healthy and happy. Thanks, everybody.